The conventions in a music magazine, they usually, on the front cover, they usually have a masthead and the picture and barcode, the price, that kind of thing. In the contents page, I'll have lots of pictures and the actual contents down the middle. They sometimes have an editor's letter and they fill it up to make it look like it's really full inside the magazine. On a typical double-page spread, they'll have a main picture of the person or people they've been interviewing or reviewing, and the actual interview on the other side. In mine, I've done most of this, except on the front cover, I only have 2 pictures. I did this to make sure the focus was on the main picture on the front cover. In the contents page, I have a couple of I just have the one picture, an editor's letter, and the contents. And the double page spread is picture on one side and writing on the other. Okay. The social groups I've represented mainly are teenagers because they were the ones most likely that gave me the audience feedback on my poll. I chose to do indie music because on my poll that was the one with the highest votes. And I represented them by putting lots of bands in and lots of like artists which were to do with that kind of genre of music. And I put lots of I put in the contents page, I spoke about lots of reviews and lots of like albums that were coming up and coming out and that kind of thing. The images that I've used are of a band, and the people in them are mainly like teenage age, so they're all about 17, 18. And I think this worked best because the people who read the magazine would be able to relate to these people. The language I used was quite formal, but not too. It was quite formal in a sense, but not too informal that it's and it was appropriate for the age. I think the main profile of the audience that will read my magazine, I think there'll be about 15 to 19, really into their music. Mainly boys, but I reckon there will be some girls, but that would be a small minority. General person in my the general profile of the audience, I think they will be quite not really poor but not really wealthy, because my magazine is I think it's £2.50, so that's quite a lot, every week. And I think they'll really like. Right. The institution that publishes Kerrang and Q magazine each month is Bauer, and I think that perhaps they would publish mine, because I think there's a gap in the market for a magazine that is more for teenagers and more indie kind of music, whereas Kerrang is quite rock and Q is quite just everything really. I think my magazine offers a flexible price, and also it's weekly instead of monthly like most other magazines are, so the audience have more range of when they can buy it and when they want it. In my magazine, to make it more attractive to my target audience, I used like a grey colour scheme because I think that will attract boys more, which I think will be mainly those who buy my magazine. I use the same font throughout just to keep it simple and repetitive, so that people find it easier to read. The front cover, I have the title of my magazine, so it says Journey of Music Across, and then I've got the website just underneath it, so those who maybe picked up my magazine and didn't want to buy it straight away could go home and research it on the internet. I've got a big picture of a guy on the drums, so I think if somebody looked at it, thought they were interested in the drums, or maybe they play the drums themselves, they could, would want to buy it. I also had a tagline across the bottom, which said, which listed quite famous bands, and I had some cover lines across the front cover to make it look as if I had lots in the magazine. Um, right, I think somebody would buy my magazine because of the front cover mainly, because it's so full. Um, in my audience feedback, I had quite lots of people were interested in the indie genre of music. So so anybody who likes that kind of music would instantly recognise it on this magazine and buy it. Okay, some of the technologies that I used during this project was obviously the online blog, which I put all my work into. I used a poll for my audience feedback. I used GIMP as well as Photoshop and PaintShop, and a variety of different software to edit my photos. I used a DSLR camera to take all my images. I used this because it gave the best quality images that I could get. I used Publisher to create all of my magazine, my front cover and my contents page and my double page spread, and I found this really easy once I got used to it. As with all the other processes that I used. After looking back at my prelim task, I've learnt a lot. In the first task, I used lots of word art and it wasn't very professional looking. It was quite sort of young looking, cartoonish. The photos on it weren't of very good quality either. That was on the front cover. In the contents page, I used like lots of colour in it, and I didn't think it's made it look very professional. I didn't add very much content into the actual contents page, and so I ended up filling it with a lot of photos. And I don't think this effect worked very well for the task in hand. Whereas this one, I've chose a very dull colour scheme. I used grey throughout, and I gave it a more professional look by using the photos and editing them to a better quality, and using the same font throughout to keep it simple.